See who will show up on Zoom. I'll share screen. So I'll release the recording weekly, just because I want to make it optional for people. I know some people kind of live far away. And if you can't make it, you can also watch the recording. Except for when we're in Costa Rica, right? Okay, so let's log in and check out Canvas, and then I'll start in a few minutes to give a few minutes for people who are getting here. Okay. So I'll go ahead and get started. Thank you for coming in. I know that it is raining today and this week. My name is Casey Nguyen. I think I met most of you on Zoom when we had the orientation. I teach for Moreno Valley College since 2018. I specialize in cybersecurity. Prior to teaching, I worked in the field as administrators and security specialists for a long time. Then I transitioned to teaching part-time for fun, and here I am today. About January, and tomorrow actually will be my 16th year in teaching in higher education. So prior to the community college, I worked for private schools, some tech school and university. So you are in CIS30A. This is a Python programming class. I revised this entire class just for the study abroad program. I plan to give you a little bit more hands-on experience in how you can apply Python to real-life data. For example, we're going to do projects where you're going to gather data. You can look at, monkey species. We are going to visit a lot of really cool places. Or you can look at, I did buy some sensors for the class, so you can look at volcanic soil, the moisture in the soil, and then just write down your data. We're gonna come back, and then I will show you how to put the project together. So specifically, this class is designed for study abroad, with the Python programming component. So we're gonna look at the syllabus first. You can find the syllabus in your Canvas. Hi, welcome. Come on in. Hi. Go ahead and take a seat anywhere in the room. You can start the computer. We just got started. So on Canvas, I put everything in module, and each module after the first is going to be weekly things. For the time that we're in Costa Rica, we're not gonna have major assignments or anything like that, because there was some concern that came to me from students. So what we're gonna do is just gonna write down our data. We're gonna bring it back, and you can work in groups. I'm fine with that. And then we'll put it together. I will show you how you can program and put together your project. So all the class information, even our travel communication, is in the first module. I don't have specific office hours this semester. I used to for the winter and summer intersection. I will do by appointment. So if you have concerns or if you need to meet, just send me an email. I usually check my email many times in the day, so I will respond. If you send a Canvas message, it will go to my email as well. We don't need to buy a textbook. I'm using an OER textbook, which is freely available. This is a book that's used by a university, and Python has abundant amount of open source materials. And normally for my class, textbooks are optional. I put together notes for you. There are course resources, but right now we're going to take a look at the syllabus if you click on that. Okay. So this course is 3 units. Python is a very common programming language. If you do any kind of research, you will likely run into it. IBM actually pay for their workers to be certified in Python, like business people. So having the skills is really good, especially if you're in sciences. And having that on your resume just gonna help you along the way, especially if you are looking for work later. I know most of you are in healthcare or some kind of health related, and some of you are in computer science. So Python is one of the top programming languages that you will learn, especially when you're doing data analysis, which we will be applied in our project. You will find that it is very useful. Everything that you touch and use on the internet now have some form of AI, and Python is very prevalent in AI. I'm currently finishing my data engineering course with Georgia Tech as part of my certificate, and they emphasize R and Python. So for us, we are going to meet the first 2 weeks, right? Next week is going to be a little lighter because we're going to get ready to travel. So for this week, I still want to hit the objective. So every time you come to class, I will walk you through the assignment, right? And by the time you leave class, if you follow along, and you can take it home and work on it some more if you like, but usually my student leaving class, they're done with the assignment. So the point is to make sure that, we're able to address the assignments. The 2 weeks that we're in Costa Rica is going to be week 3 and week 4, right? We will decide on our group project, on who you want to work with, and you can still think about it while you travel. And then we are going to gather some data. So a little bit about this course is just to really apply, and this is commonly used in development, like software engineering and development, and especially in the cybersecurity area. If you use YouTube, Python is used. Google uses Python, Dropbox, everybody pretty much uses Python. It is one of the friendlier language next to JavaScript, and it is very commonly used for web, okay? So this week, for today, we're gonna do a little bit of introduction. I'll get your feet wet a little bit on how to really write really simple script or program. And if this is the first time you're coding, Python is the right language to learn, and I'll make sure that it's going to be easier for you. We are going to work with using a software to be able to write and run our program. You don't have to install anything if you are here, but if you're using your computer at home, you have to install the Python package, and I'll talk about that. And then additional toolkits. Okay. We are going to, you will find that when you put together your data, it could be an Excel spreadsheet, it could be a text, right, file. We're going to tell the computer to go find the file, read it, and then be able to pull it, just like how we can pull data from the web. Most of the time, that really creates an automation seamless environment for us. And you're gonna see that once you see the logic in programming, it's gonna be like, oh, that's a piece of cake. It's really easy, and you can understand how some of the things, the apps and some of the things work in the background when you start using apps on your phone or on the web, okay? For today, we're gonna work with variables. We're gonna look at how we will create a variable and what it is, right? And then use that in our program. You are gonna work with numbers, and this is also a component of our project. Very simple math. I'm not gonna give you something crazy like calculus. You're gonna use like arithmetic operators, some functions, and we're gonna look at how to be able to use numbers in our program. Then later on, right, you are gonna see how to work with objects. This is an object-oriented programming language, the same type as your Java or your C++. So we are gonna talk about how objects are used, okay? And from today or this week onward, we are gonna see how the user can interact with your program. You can write a program to ask the user to input, you know, for example, like they're shopping online, they have to fill out their address or their shipping address. That's what we're gonna start working on this week, is a way to be able to record that input and then display that input on screen. We're gonna work with your expression statements, which are just simply a line of code, and then how to use your string, which is text. So the computer sees everything in 0 and 1s, and we have to write the program. It's kind of like you understand English and you use a Google Translator to be able to understand Spanish or Chinese or Korean or something like that, right? So the interpreter in Python is like Google Translator, right? You're gonna give it some form of statement, like a sentence, how are you doing? And it's gonna take that and translate it into the machine language, which is what it understands. So when you're programming, when we're giving it a string, basically our human text, the computer has to convert that into numerical values. So we're gonna take a look at how we're gonna be able to use strings and format strings, okay? And then methods are functions. Functions are just tasks that the computer has to execute, and we tell the computer what to do. Know that when we design our smartphone and our computer, it's really mimicking who we are, right? The functionality that you want to use on an app or on a phone is engineered to be like you, right? So that way it can understand what you need and what you want. So basically we can start with a simple function like, you know, sum up all the values in a shopping cart and give me a total with tax, right? We can write a function like that and simply applying the math. Then we're gonna look at conditions. Conditions are like, if it rains outside, I'm gonna bring an umbrella, right? So everything that you use when you do a search on Google or YouTube, or when you specifying things on a form, they have programmed the app or the interface to have some form of conditions. And you probably hear of AI, artificial intelligence, and everybody thinks it's robots, right? Basically, it's just computing with a lot of applied conditions. So it will eventually mimic what we want it to do, okay? Like human. And so we can have a continuous loop, things that are repeated. So if I want things to go on forever, that's an infinite loop. So I can do that too. We can have, while it's doing this, it can do another thing. So we will learn a little bit of that this week as well. Now, everything can be in groups. So your data can also be in a list or a container. That's what I call. So think about like when you're packing, right? If I bring one shirt, right, I only put it in a smaller container. If I bring a lot of clothes, I have to put it in a larger suitcase. So the computer does that. We can have a larger container for a group of things or many things, or we can have a smaller container to store the smaller things. So there are different type or categories of container that we can tell the computer to store your data. Okay, so we'll learn that. We'll talk about classes and hierarchy. And Python can be used for a lot of things. Many developers, they created. So one of my, I went to the seminar that was held by UCR, and I was really impressed with the sophomore team that presented. They actually create a program that pull all the YouTube video that is related to computer science lecture, right? And then through that, they screen out all the ums and the ahs in the video from the professor, right? And so they had used a library, which is a file that was created by other developer for that. And then they modified their program to be able to, automate that. So when they run the program, it's just gonna look for all the YouTube video, it's gonna give them the content, and that's how they can streamline instead of clicking for each video and look and then watch through the video. So it did that for them. So I was super impressed, and they were only second year at UCR. So you're gonna see that the usefulness in using libraries, those are just actual Python files that people created. Okay. So textbook is optional. I did put a link for you to download if you like. There are practice examples and things like that. And so I do deduct late assignments just out of fairness for all the people who turn things in on time. I'm pretty flexible. So if you have a hard time with something, let me know, right? I'll work with you. A day or two late, not going to be a big deal. I just didn't like when, certain individual turn things in all the way at the end. I do close out some assignments. So there's 10% deduction for each week. Okay. And then I like not to take anything because this is only a 6-week course. Pointless to apply the late assignments criteria if I still take stuff at the end. So after 3 weeks, I like to close things out. We will do hands-on in class. If you can't make it, you can join the Zoom. I will try to release some recording after class, like tonight or tomorrow morning. Okay. There will be a course project, and this is why Costa Rica is, is an element in this course. This is my first time doing study abroad. And before I went into computing, I started as a life science major at UCR. I was a biology major for 2 years because I was planning to go into dental school. And then halfway through, I had a change of heart and I changed my major. I did well in life sciences. I took AP biology in high school. I took calculus in high school. And then I found that computing jobs were really helpful and I started to love it so much. So I ended up switching my career direction. And so I did take a lot of the science classes, chemistry, organic chemistry, biology, microbiology, anatomy, physiology. So I was a life science major for a while. So I do have some background in that. And so I really designed a project to give you some emphasis. Now, if you are not interested in doing things that are biologically related, you can approach me with your ideas and we can incorporate that in the project, but you have to work in the Costa Rica data. Okay, I'll talk about the project later. There will be periodic quizzes. My quizzes are like 10, 15 questions. They are on Canvas and you have 3 attempts. The best score out of the 3 attempts will be recorded and it's normally due Sunday. Quiz is going to be open until the end of the semester. So if you missed it and you want to take it later, not a big deal. Okay. Because this class is not, so I take everything via Canvas just to centralize, and I do update my grades regularly. I'm not one of those that wait till the end of the semester and you don't know what grade you're going to get until you take the final. You are going to get weekly grade report. Okay. So I follow the basic standard grade category. There are no pluses or minuses. Just this is community college scale. Okay. So an A is 90 to 100. B is 80 to 89, 79 and 70 to 79 is a C, and then below that is a D and F. And here's the category for your grading. Quizzes are 15%. Your assignments and participation is 30%. Your lab activities are 20%. We're going to do one lab starting today. Your course project is 15%. Exam is 20%. You do have opportunity to do extra credit. I have like a quiz review game that I release, and you can also win a gift card, $25 from Amazon if you have the highest score. And I do that for all my classes. All right, so extra credit, I apply the extra credit at the end of the semester. It never exceeds 8% of your grade. Some students think that they skip the assignments and they do extra credit. That doesn't work. Okay. For attendance, we want to keep regular attendance. I understand if you can't make it in, try to join Zoom. And I have to report to study abroad at the district level. And so for this, we are going to spend a lot of time together for the 2 weeks that we're in Costa Rica. The only person that's not here is the chaperone, Donnell Lane. I think there are two young ladies in the back that work at the Makerspace that knows Donnell really well. I'm friend with Donnell. He's been working here since 2019. We've done a lot of like different activities and things together. I regularly participate at NBC Makerspace activities, and I really want to promote STEM for women, especially. I'm really for like, having raised up the underrepresented population, which is women in tech and women in STEM. So come on in. Take a seat. We just went over the syllabus. So if you come across any kind of issues, you can let me and Donnell know, and we'll address it. And so we're just gonna try to be courteous and respectful to one another. But I assume that there might be something that comes up. If there is, just let us know so we can address it. Okay. All right. And then this part is part of the policy for the college, especially for programming. Do not copy and paste other people's code. You can follow my example, that's fine, but eventually your project has to be your own, or your group's project has to be your own group. I'm fine with you working in a group for your course project, that's fine. Okay. Yeah, because at the university level, this is automatically dismissal, right? No return to UC or CSU. They're pretty strict with that. So we want to be respectful of people's work. This is my contact information. I'm hardly in my office during the winter. If you do leave a voicemail, it will go to my email. The best way to contact me is via email. I think I did start the community for WhatsApp, right? You can install it on your phone. If you need to message me there, you can. Okay, any questions? Okay, and I will contact you via Canvas message or your email. Okay. So I did bring snacks up front. Feel free to have snacks, and just be careful with the sticky sugar and stuff around with the keyboard. So that's all. All right. No questions, no concern. Okay, so we have, okay, it's only been 20 minutes. Let's go around the room and just say your name and your major real quick. I know some of you did this on Zoom already, so everybody kind of know who you are since we're here. We'll start with the young lady over there. It's fine. Sit down or stand up. It's up to you.
My name is Fiona. My major is geography. My name is Sabrina. My major is art. My name is Nicole and my major is math. I'm Jasmine. My major is also math.
Awesome.
My name is Adonis and my major is registered.
Say it again.
Registered nurse.
Oh, awesome.
My name is Jackie and my major is registered nurse as well.
Oh, cool. Yeah, sure.
Hi, my name is Paola. I'm my psychology major. My name is Natalie. My name is Eileen. I'm majoring in information technology.
She's in cybersecurity. I remember. Next.
My name is Alejandra and I'm a computer science. My name is Laura and I'm majoring in computer science.
Gutierrez, right? Your
Yeah.
last name? Oh, okay.
My name is Donna. I'm majoring in early childhood. I'm from Nova and I'm
Awesome. I feel so blessed that I think everybody has, it's a mix of things. I just assumed that, because they told me a lot of sciences and biology students. So I'm glad that everybody, so if you decided that the project topic is kind of not in your area and you wanted to look at something a little different in Costa Rica, I'm fine with that. Okay, so just let me know. All right. So now what we're gonna do is we are gonna go through the lesson. Okay. What I shared with you here is if you go down to week 1, there is a notes document. Okay. I forgot to bring you guys some USB. In a little bit, we'll take a short break and I'll get you some USB so you can put. But this is available online. You can view it inside the actual page. So you don't have to store anything. But in case you want to take your program home, I have some USB for you. Okay. So we'll talk a little bit about Python, and I'll do attendance before we go home so I can report it. So as you heard earlier, Python is a high-level programming language. What does that mean is it has to use some form of translator or interpreter to be able to break it down to the machine level. Similar to, you probably heard of like C, C++, right? Java, those are some of the common languages that you would see in programming. And the best part about Python is it's really close to human English. And you don't have, and it's very forgiving in how you are programming it. Dr. Guido van Rossum is the creator for Python. He originally was a developer for many companies, including Dropbox. He is fully retired from the development world, but he still contributes into the community. And so what you see is that he wants to really design this for the people who are learning. Hi, come on in. You're on Zoom, I assume.
Yeah, sorry, I got lost.
I'm glad you found it. You can take the scene anywhere in the room. So it really emphasized on how to really easily code something, right? And the usage of this is you can make desktop app. And if you're interested in designing like 2D games, you can do that as well. Many of your game engine also support programming language that are web related, and Python is one of them. It is often used in big data. So I've had students that have taken Python. They came from psychology. They use it for stats in many areas that they want to learn Python in order to do their research or analysis. So you can make it where you can also program it for AI. And artificial intelligence is pretty cool. It is in everything that we touch nowadays. So the benefits of this is that it is cross-platform, so you can make it for your Apple systems, right? Or your Windows system, so it is compatible across, okay? There are many job opportunities that you can see in Python. And so this is a good language to start with. Okay. Now, Python use an interpreter. Like I said earlier, it's like your Google translator, right? It converts a language. Now, unlike C++, right, it reads line by line. So when you have an error on the 8th line, it's going to pause there. It's going to say, I don't understand what you mean by this line. And it's going to tell you line 8, error, right? Possibly syntax. So when I say it's syntax, it's just like how you have a misspelled word in English, or you have grammatical error, okay? So in English, when we write a complete sentence. You're going to have pronouns, noun, verbs, right? And you're going to end your sentence with a period or a question mark, right? Some form of symbol to really imply what that sentence means. So in Python, you're going to have to follow a set of rules. So things are typed in a certain way, okay? In other languages, you have to finish with a semicolon. We don't need that. Okay, so indentation is really important in Python. So that means that in a paragraph, right, what you see is in Python, in the next line, that's part of that statement, you're gonna have to indent. That means you're gonna tap and you're gonna indent it in. If you don't, the interpreter is gonna tell you, oh, I don't know what you mean by this, or there's something wrong. So Python syntax, we just gotta pay attention to, and it is easier than the other language that you see here. Java is one of the harder ones, and that's CIS30A. That's a different class, okay? So when you write your code, it is considered source code. And so we can create a code for the program. Sometimes Python program will be referred to as script or module, okay? So for each of the statement, what that is let's say one line of code, that's simply a statement. Like you make a statement in English. What that is it's the command for the system. You tell the system what you are about to do or what it needs to execute, okay? So unlike C++ and Java, the program in Java and C++, which is kind of like English compared to Latin, right, for Java, it has to compile the whole program. So if I have an error in line 100 out of my 1,000-line program, when it compiles, it still sees that error. Different than Python in that Python runs the program until line 99. And it's once it hits the 100 line, it's gonna pause and say, oh, I don't know what you mean by this. Fix it, right? Go here and look at it. But in the other languages, for the compiler, it has to compile the complete program, build it, and then give it to you, okay? So what that does is it's gonna take all the components in your program, and it's gonna go and find the locations in the memory of your computer, and it's gonna prepare those things. That means it puts it onto the stack and be able to execute it. For the Python, it's different. It's gonna go through line by line where it doesn't need to really create that area to reference for the entire program. So it does not need to compile. And so for the final exam, we have to know the difference between the compiler and the interpreter. So the compiler, it translates and interprets your code, okay, to the machine language, which is 0 and 1s. Whereas the interpreter, right, it only translates your code line by line, okay? Any question? Okay. Now, when you do Python programming today, the cool thing about it is you don't have to tell it the type of data that you're working with. So for example, I want to write a program to check people's age to sell alcohol, right? And in the United States, our legal requirement is 21 years and older, okay? So when, you know, how cash register, when they ring up alcohol, right? It will notify them to card or to look for the ID of the individual to verify by entering the birth date, okay? So a simple program like that, we would ask, right, the user to type in the birth date, okay? And normally in other languages, you have to say the birth date is a special type of data, okay? It can be a double type of data where it's a long number, like when I'm talking about like 1,000 or 1,000,000 or larger number, right? Or an integer, which is like, oh, your whole number. Or what if it's a price? It's a decimal point. So Python, when you define your data, let's say I want to put in date of birth, right? And then I type out the number, it automatically detects that and it's gonna say, oh, this is the type. So you don't really have to specify this is an integer or this is a float for decimal. So that's the cool thing about it. So it is dynamically typed. Whereas other languages, it is a strongly typed. So C++ is like that. C is like that. Java is strongly typed. You have to tell it that the type I'm working with is an integer. You have to say int and then the variable name, okay? Now, once in a while, what if I want to convert data, right? I want to make decimal number into a whole number. That happens. So you can parse your data by forcing it into type. So that's when you will tell it, I want to go from here into int or integer, right? So you can parse the data into a different type. Now, when you look at JavaScript, 99% of the things that you see on web app, right? When you fill out your form for FAFSA application, or when you're applying for credit card, likely that you're gonna see JavaScript. And JavaScript, a little different, very similar to Python, but a little different. It is a loosely typed language, okay? That means that it converts the data from one type to another type freely automatically. It is similar to dynamically typed, but is a little bit quicker. So that's why they use it a lot for web-based, because it's fast. Okay. All right. So here are some of the companies. We talked about this. So before we start programming, what do you need? Okay. You need an editor, something to write your program with. Okay. You need an interpreter, something to run your program with. Any programming language, you're going to need some form of editor and either a compiler or an interpreter, right? For Python, we're going to use the interpreter. Now, the cool thing about this is everything that you need comes with Python packages. You don't need to install it here. These computers have it. But if you need to do your project at home, right, you can go to python.org. And on the website, you will find downloads, right? Currently, they are using version 3.11. They quickly move through, right? On these computers here, you're going to see that they're either 3.9 or 3.10. So anything above 3.7, 3.8 is good. Like a year from now, you're going to see that it's probably farther on in the version. So this number just indicate that it is a newer version. Okay. And then you can select the right operating system that you want to use. So if I'm using Windows, I will do this. Now, after you download the installer and you go through the wizard to install, what you have to do is make sure that you check the box where it says path, define path for my system, right? And then you click next. I think it's like next to the last step, and it's going to install. So once it's installed, you're going to have your interpreter and your editor together. So I like for you to click on your search option on your computer now. And if you type in IDLE for me, and you should see IDLE show up like this, right? Yours might be 3.10 or 3.9. That's fine. You're going to click it. Okay, so this comes with your Python installation. Okay, now what you see here, when you see these arrows, this is a shell. Okay, what the shell does is it only understands line by line commands. So I can input things like 2 + 3 and press enter, and it's going to give me, so it computes it for me. So you can use it like a calculator. You can also run one-line statement, right? Yeah. Is it blocked for you guys? What about try Thonny with this? I have them installed that. Okay, you can use Thonny then. But I want to show you this because you might not have Thonny, which is an application that's called Integrated Development Environment, your IDE. It is a software where you can use to write and run your program. If you install Python package, this comes with your Python. But do I really want to write my program line by line like this? This is going to take forever if I have a very large program, right? So what you're going to do is to use the interpreter on IDLE. When you use it at home, you click File, New File, and this is the interpreter. So when I run my program, right, I write my program here, and it's going to execute and show me here. I'm going to show you an example real quick. Okay, I'm going to open a program that I wrote before. Let me go to the Costa Rica one. Okay, so I'm going to open up one of the exercises that we're going to be doing today, for example, this. Okay. So simply I want my program to print out my name, right? My profession, and then what I like, okay? So if I write my program, I just write these, and it could be 1 line, 3 line, 5,000 lines. It's really up to you. Now, the downside in using IDLE is that IDLE doesn't, you have to modify the option to show the line numbers, right? It is a very simple text editor compared to Thonny, where your IDE is going to be better. So if I want to run this, I click run, right? Run module. And it's going to show up on my shell here. You see that? So here's my editor and here's my shell. So in any Python in IDE, you're going to see there's an area where you're going to write your program, and there's an area where you can run your program. Okay. So if you're using Thonny, let me open that up. So real world, you are going to see that it's really up to you to choose, okay, which IDE you're going to use. So this is one of the later program that we're going to write. So this area on the top is your editor, and then your shells on the bottom here. Now, if you have an error, it's going to show here, okay? And if you want to run it, you just simply click the play button. Yours look a little different because it's probably a different version. If you want to stop the program, you just click this. Okay, any questions? All right, so since you have that open, we're gonna write a small program now. Okay, now I'm gonna go through lab 1. I like to do the notes and the lab together, or the assignments together. Okay. We don't need to do the installation, but if you need to do this at home to run your program, you can do that, okay? Now, to check to see which version of Python that you have, a good way to do this is to use command line in Windows, which is and if you have Mac OS, you just simply open up terminal. It's gonna look like this. And you would type Python version like this, and it would tell me the version. You see that? Okay. And this would be for any programming language, right? Like for my students who takes Java, they would do Java -- version or --v, and it would understand which version that's installed. So if you're not sure which version that you installed, you open up command line by searching for CMD like this, and this window opens up, and you would type in the command like this, okay? So in your lab, it talks about that here, okay? It's always good to find out which version that you have. And if you don't have it, it's going to tell you, oh, it doesn't know what Python means. Then that means that you didn't install it. Okay. All right, we're going to go down to, we're going to start with exercise 2. So we talked about syntax. What does syntax mean, right? It's like a rule on how we write our statements or our program, just like how we talked about grammar in English. Now, when you're using a print function, the computer is going to know that you are trying to display something, right? Like you saw earlier here, I told it to show my name, right? This is the string that I want to show. Okay, like this. So when whatever you put into the print inside the parentheses, it's going to display it. Now, if it is text, you need to put it in quotation marks. Okay. So now Python allows you to use single or double quotation mark. So in your Thonny, go ahead and click this new file, or if you already have a new file open, you're going to do a print. Okay. And in the instruction, you can find this in lab 1, exercise 2. We're going to do a print, and we are going to put in a string. You would say hello and your name, but make sure you put it in quotation marks. So it would be like this. Print, put a double or single quotation mark, hello, and then your full name. Now, in order to run the program, it has to save the program. So the best practice is to click save, or you can do file, save as, and put it on your desktop for now, right? So you can put it on your desktop, and then you can say lab 1 ex2 .py. Oops. Always want to follow it up with a Python, or make sure that this is a Python files, and click save. So now we know that we put it on the desktop so we can find it later. And then you're going to click run. See, you should see something output on the bottom, right? It should say hello and your full name. So congratulations, you wrote your first line of code. And you can do as many print as you want. So when you're shopping, right, and you click that button, submit or proceed to check out, whatever, right? The developer, they show that it gathers up all your items in your shopping cart, accumulate the sum and output your total for you. And that's really a print function in Python, right? On JavaScript, it's similar. So print is commonly used, and for C++, it uses cout. So for print, simply that's just to display. And if you want to display any string, make sure that we put it in single or double quotation marks. Okay. All right. So that was exercise 2. And so we should see our name. I want you to take a screenshot. Okay. The easiest way to do a screenshot is, here's my program. Press the print screen key on your keyboard. It should be near the top right of your keyboard. It should say PRTSC. And then, or you can do a clip. And then open up your Word document. Hi, come on in. Take a seat anywhere in the room. Hi, welcome. And then you're going to paste it. So when you do a print screen, it basically copy what you have on screen. So I press the print screen button, and then I paste it onto a Word document. So to submit your assignment, just maintain one document and submit it one time with a bunch of screenshots. I'm fine with that. A lot of students, they keep uploading different, JPEG and stuff. That's okay too, but that's just too much work for you. Okay, so just do a print screen and then paste. So we just started lab 1, exercise 2. Okay. If you want to go to Canvas, open up that lab 1 document, and then you can, if you need help, let me know. Any questions? All right. So let me minimize this. So I open up Thonny and I wrote my print statement. Okay, so, and you can save it in anything you want. We'll come back to this area later, because whatever you name your file, if you need to reference your file, you got to make sure that it is the exact match. Okay. All right. Any question on exercise 2 in lab 1? I wrote down step by step for you. So if you can't use IDLE, you can use Thonny, THONNY. All right, let's do exercise 3 now. Okay. So we already talked about how string represents text. For your numbers, we can use integer for whole number, float for decimal like price. Okay. Complex number. Some of you probably took math that talks about complex number. This is more rare in our class. And then bool is for Boolean, true or false. So earlier we talked about conditions, right? We can say that bool would be like, if it's raining outside, I will bring an umbrella. So you can say, if rain is true, right? Print bring umbrella. Okay, simple like that. And then it will be just like an app to notify the user to remind the user to bring an umbrella, right? So what we do there is we have to declare a location in your memory. I think most of you grew up with computers, right? You understand that there is a storage location that stores all of these things. So software is really about using data in different locations. It's not really complex. Everybody thinks that like, oh, an app is super complex. Not really. It's about how to be able to fetch some data and instructions and put it together. And that's what you really see as an application or software. Okay. So what we will start with is the simplest container is a variable. This is used to store smaller things. Like what I said, I'm going to have a smaller bag for my smaller shirt. So if you need to open up Thonny once you log into your computer, right? For those of you who just got here, search for THONNY like this and open up the application so you can write your program. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to declare a variable. You're going to tell the system, this is what I'm going to name it. Okay, and we're going to give it a string. So the example that you see here is my name is a variable name. So the practice for variable is you want to make it readable as much as possible, because in a program, you can have hundreds and thousands of variables, right? Of a very large program. So, and you want it to represent what you're trying to do with that location where you're going to put your data. So what we're going to do is we're going to reserve a location in the computer and we're going to call it something. It's kind of like your parents giving you a name, right? And so whenever that they need you, they call you, right? So in the software, what we're going to do is we're going to give it a location. We're going to give it a name. And so whenever we need it, we're going to pull it. So now sometimes you can use upper and lowercase together, right? Never start your variable with a number, okay? Always start with letters. And you can also use underscore. You can do it like this, right? Now, when you declare a variable, you need to give it an equal sign. So say this variable is going to store Jane, okay? And this variable is going to store 25. So Jane is 25 years old, and then we're going to print that out. Okay, so for exercise 2, what we're going to do is we are going to declare a variable that's going to store your name. We are going to declare a variable that's going to store your age. We're going to declare a third variable that's going to store your major. We're going to print those. Okay, so on Thonny, we're going to start a new file. So click the blank page, the new file. And you're going to start with your variable. My name equal. And you want to put quotation mark because your name is in text. So put your full name. Then the next variable we want to store now our age number, right? My age. And put your age. If you have questions, you need help, let me know. Okay, you can interrupt me. So I'm 45. You can put your real age. And then for the next step, it tells you that you need to declare the third variable that's going to be the major, right? So let's go back to Thonny here. We can say my major. And I'm going to put, and we want to put this in string. Remember that anytime that you deal with text, right? We want string, single or double quotation mark will be fine. Cybersecurity. You can put like biology, psychology, early childhood, math, like that. Computer science. And then now we're going to print all of those things together. Okay. So we're gonna say print. Now, since I already have declaration of my variable at the top, I simply reference it, right? So now I can just use what's inside it by putting it inside the parentheses. So I would say my name, print, my age. So it's going to show print my major. And you got to make sure that it's exactly how you declare it. It's like at home, if they call you that name, it has to be referenced by that name, right? So when you declare a variable, you tell the system this is, even if you type it wrong, it's not gonna work. Okay. And in Thonny, if you want to clear your output here, right, you can right click and choose clear and it will go away. Right click clear. So after we have this program, remember what I said, in order to, it's going to ask you to save anyways when you click this. So we're going to go File, Save As, and then put it on your desktop, and I will give you, so we can say lab1 ex3, right, .py. Save it as a Python file, and then we're going to click Save. Yes. Sure. Okay, once you save, click the Run button. So search here. I think Thonny, Thonny. There. So they installed this already at home. You might want to install it, but you have to install Python anyway, and Python comes with Python. Yeah, so on lab 2, exercise 2 is where lab 1, exercise 2 is where we start. So I just did exercise. Yeah, so this is where you would type. So I'm on playlist here. So log on to playlist. Okay, go down and then go down to the studio one. So exercise 2, you can either download and open or see it in there. Okay, so we can save this and run it. So it shows this right here, right? You can do a print screen by pressing print screen. Open up your Word document that you previously had for exercise 2, and then go down and then paste it below that. Control V for paste, or right click and paste. Okay, so I have 2 exercises done. Any question? Yeah. Okay, so for your integer, we don't want space right here. Not 8, yeah. You can use underscore, but no space. And then you want to use 20 as a number. Use it as a number instead of text. Yeah, so if you change the other one, you're going to change that. That's the exact. Yeah, so what you see there in red is called traceback. And in the interpreter, what that does, it follows the error and traces back. It will tell you which line you have the error. Okay. Yeah, so when you read the error, it simply is just where the error is. Okay, it's not turning on.
I'll figure out why it does this. But sometimes the people don't.
Okay, so what about, so when we write this, it's fine. We understand what that means, right? But if you give this to the user, they're not going to know what that means. They're going to be like, oh, what is this? Just name, number. I don't know what 45 means, right? So I just wanted to add this here so you can see. What if I want to say my age is 45, right? So what you can do in the print function is you can combine a lot of different things. So you can print out a string, right? And then what we would do is we would use a separator, which is your comma. So you saw how that is with just a variable. Now, if I add in a string, my age is, so it makes sense to the person who's looking at my program, right? When I run this, see how it shows this? Okay. So what you can do is you can add in a string before it, use a separator. So what it's going to do is going to know that this is a string and this is a variable that holds number. Okay. And then you can do the same thing for your major, right? Quotation mark, my major is like this. And then anytime you change, you got to click run again, right? So it's really simple on how, what if I wanted to add more? You can, right? I can also add another string after this by using a separator, which is the comma. Okay, any questions? And then if I need to fix this, right, I can say my name is like that. Sorry, I had my quotation off here. So now it makes a little bit more sense to the person who's looking at this part, right? Because, and I get this from my students all the time. A lot of times they prompt things wrong, right? When I teach other classes. So you want to be as clear as possible when you're writing your program. So because a lot of the time you see the low rated apps, it's not usable, it's not user friendly, right? It doesn't make sense, or it has a lot of issues, right? It's slow, whatever. So there are a lot of things that you need to test before you release your app, but be as clear as possible when you're displaying text, right? You don't want to go through the shopping cart and things are like obscure and you're like, what happens to my items? What are the items that I ordered, right? A year from now, you want to go back and look at your receipt. It needs to make sense. Okay. All right. Any question? So this is exercise 3. Now, one of the things that we can do is we can add comments to the program. Those are like annotation that the interpreter will ignore. What developers do, programmers do, is they add things that would represent sections of the program. Like this sections mean this. So in a single comment, you can use a single hashtag like this. And you can say lab 1 EX3. What that does is it's gonna not use this line as a statement. It's not gonna execute it. Okay. So when you write your project, if you need to tell me, oh, this is where I visualize my data, you can add a single line comment. So when you run this, it's still gonna give you the same output. It's just totally ignoring this. So the hashtag is used for a single line comment. What if I have a bunch of lines? What if I have a paragraph comment? I'm going to use a 3 single quotation mark, right? Or a triple double quotation mark, doesn't matter, right? So I'm going to show you, this is a block comment. Like this. Multiple lines, like this. And whatever you open, you have to close, right? So the difference between a block comment and a single line comment is that we just have more lines, okay? So in an application, we can have like a bunch of, notes to ourselves, like I need to come back and fix this because there's an error in this area. So you can put in a block comment or you can put in a single line comment. Any question? Really easy, right? Programming can be fun. Okay, so let's do the next exercise. I'm a hands-on person. I can't learn without doing. So I hope that, if you have questions or concern, let me know. All right. So now, what's a good program if we don't let the user interact, right? An application needs to have some way of letting people enter the data and like filling out a form, and then seeing what they entered. Okay, so now we're going to learn an input function. So an input function allows the user to input, but whatever you're asking them, you need to put it in the parentheses. So let's say I want to have the user enter their name. I can say input, open parenthesis, enter your name in text, in string, okay? Or enter your age, or what is your major, right? So it's gonna wait for the user to strike a key, press enter, and then it's gonna store it into a location, which is your variable. So in this example, I have a username variable. And we talked about variable is a location where it's gonna store the data, right? But in this case, it's gonna store the data where what the user input. So username is gonna be a variable, and we're gonna use an input function to ask the user to type in their name, right? So we would say enter your name, colon, and then close that, and then print username. Okay, so we're gonna do exactly like this example, and we're gonna test it. Okay, so we're gonna ask the user to input their name. We're gonna ask them to input their age, and then we're gonna display that. So on Thonny, I'd like you to open up a new file. Okay, let me check on the young lady in the back. Are you okay now? All right, yeah, I'll make sure I'll tag that. Okay, open up Thonny, and we are going to do, I'm gonna comment the top, lab 1 EX4. Okay, so we are going to create a variable called username. And we are going to use input function. We're going to prompt them to enter your name. Like this. So whatever they type in, it's going to be stored in that username location in the storage. Next line, we're going to ask them for their age. Input. Enter your age. Okay. Now we want to show them what they entered, right? So we're gonna do a print. And in this case, we're gonna be a little bit more fancy. Your name is, comma, and then call the variable user name. Print. Your age is user. Oops, sorry, I forgot my quotation. User age. Like this. All right, let me clear the bottom. So how's that? Everybody okay? So in this program, we simply ask the user to type in their name and type in their age and print out what they type in. Now, if you want more specific, you would say username, and then you can say enter your full name, right? Sometimes for database purposes, we would ask them, to enter their first name, their last name separately. So that way we can put it into a table for relational database. So on a simple level, this is what you see. So today you learn how to make a program that the user would interact. And this can work for psychology. It can work for like you know, if you go to early childhood, what if, you know, you start a daycare business and you want the parents to fill out some form to, you know, for application to apply their kids. So you can make a program to do this and it's really easy. All right, so once we have this, only 4 lines, we are going to go to File, Save As. You can put it on your desktop again so we can grab the file and we can say lab1ex4 .py for Python. You can save it whatever you like, but I like to just keep the assignments categorized so it's easy for me to find, and then click Run. So now it's waiting for me to type in my name, right? So when you test it, when you click Run, you type in your name and press Enter. And then type your age and press Enter. Okay, again, when you click Run, right, you can type in your name, press Enter, your age, press Enter. And it should show your name is and your age is. You're missing a quotation mark right there. Yes, just type in your name. And you don't have to put if you want to use the colon after your name at the colon. Whatever text that you want to show, yeah, put it there. You know what I mean? Any other questions? Okay. Username. So put the quotation mark right? That's the string you want to make. It's gonna take whatever is given. Okay, so we learned how to use string, variable, input functions, and print functions just now, right? All right. Okay. Now we're gonna work with numbers next. But I want to give everybody a little bit of time to finish up. I know I might go a little too fast. I'm kind of, before computer science students, they come in, they already know a lot of coding, but I wanted to dial it back and make sure everybody How are we doing today? Okay, so for the user age right here, you want to plug in, so you're gonna make sure it's exactly everything. So basically, you'll have an invitation period. So what it is, it's, you know, make whatever they do. So file save as. So next All right, let's do the next one, which is exercise 5. Okay, so we are going to look at the lab 1. So now we're gonna do some conversion, right? Just like how when you go to Google, you ask how many foot is in a mile. So we know that a mile is 1.60934 kilometer. 1 meter is this many inches, and 1 foot is 12 inches. Okay. So the example here, I have a variable called distance. Now, remember what I said earlier, you can force it to become a whole number by parsing it into an integer like this. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to ask the user to input the distance in miles. Let's say that, you ask a runner to type in how many miles they ran, and you're going to convert that into kilometers. Okay. So in this example, we have a second variable called conversion, and it's going to store the value in equivalents of miles to kilometer. Okay. So this is the unit value. And so we want to print out the travel distance in miles and that the equivalents in kilometer. Okay. All right, so that's the example. What we're going to do in this one is we are going to make a program. We're going to ask the user, okay, to put in the height in feet and inches. And we're going to convert that into meter. Okay. All right, so let's do that. New file. So this is lab 1 EX5. So we can say user height equal input. Enter your height in feet. Now, just to simplify the process, I'm going to tell you that I'm going to have them enter twice, right? Like if I'm 5'2", so I would say I'm going to enter 5 feet first and then the 2 inches. Another way that we can do this is we can simply force the user to convert already. Most people don't know how to convert, right? So what we're going to say is we're going to add in the inches after the feet, okay? So what we're going to do is we are going to put in height. I'm just going to put inches. Input. I know this is a little sloppy, but enter your height in inches. Example. Oh, that's good enough. Rotation. So we have 2 variables, right? Like if I'm 5'2", I would put the 5 in the first input and then the 2 inches afterwards. Because most people, they're not exactly a certain foot, right? Or a certain feet. They would just have like various in feet and inches. Then what we want to do is we want to refer to our unit conversion. We know that there are 12 inches per foot, right? And we need to convert this into meter, okay? So we want to put a variable called foot is going to be 12 inches and 1 meter is going to be this, okay? So what we're going to do is I'm going to copy this because I'm lazy. And I'm going to make it into my variable. Okay. You're going to see why. And then I'm going to copy the next one. I'm gonna take out this. Take out the inches. So I'm going to declare a variable called meter to inches and foot to inches. Like this. Let me separate this so you can see closely. So what I want to do is I want to take whatever the user input and multiply this, right? If they input 5 feet, it's going to take 5 times 12, which gives me 60 inches. Okay. And then I would be able to take the inches and multiply it by 39.3701 to make it meter. Get it? So I'm going to comment here, right? I'm going to show you that we're going to convert foot to inches. Okay. So now what we will do is we are going to update this, or we can make another variable. Normally we can update it. So whenever that you reuse a variable, it's just going to store the new data. But what I like to do now is I want to make you do another variable. So you can say user height inches. And we're going to take the user height that they originally input. And we're going to multiply using the asterisk. With the foot to inches. Right? So this really represents whatever the feet that they input here, it's going to multiply it by 12 and it's going to store it here. Okay. And then the next one, I'm going to convert inches to meter. So we already have the inches here plus this one. We need to combine those and multiply it by 39.37, right? Because if I'm 5'2", right, that means that I am 62 inches. So it needs to take the 5 multiplied by 12, that is 60 plus the 2. So it's 62 inches. Then it's going to multiply it by this. Okay. To give me, let me double check. Yeah. Actually divided by this to give me the meter. Okay. So what we're going to do is we are going to first take this value. Sorry, I have a misspelled here. User height in inches plus, right? User inches let's give it a variable. Oops. Okay, now we're going to do user height in meter. We're going to take this, add them together, and divide it by meter to inches. Now, when you read this week notes, you would see that just like in math, the interpreter is going to go from left to right when it calculates if you want something that needs to be calculated in priority, you need to put it in parentheses. So on here, and it would take higher, oops, I have a typo there. It would take higher precedence for the multiplication, division, and so on. So it is ideal that you apply mathematical rules when you do this. So what I wanted to do is I want to make sure that I have the total inches for the user and then divide it by, I had this backward, but inches to meter or meter to inches. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we are going to print your height in meter is, and we would say meter to inches. Like this. Check our syntax, make sure everything matches correctly. So it doesn't understand space. If you want to use space, you have to use underscore like this. And the readability in this is easier, especially when you do like conversion program like this. Okay. So let me clear this. Let me run. Oh, I have a typo, see? So when you get a trace back, it will look like this. I have this before this. Okay, so I am 5'2", right? I type in 5 and 2 inches. And I have one, where's the, oh, okay. So what it's telling me here is I need to parse this, okay, into either some kind of string or float. Because now when I divide it, it's a decimal, you see? Okay. So what we need to do is now we need to parse this. If you want to round it, you can. Let's see if it likes the float. 1 second. 2. Yeah, it didn't like the string. Hold on. So I'm gonna round to whole number. User height. Oh, I forgot. Okay, back up here. So when you input anything, it is text. Okay, we need to convert our text into integers or float. Okay, sorry, let me fix. I have you change your things 3 times. Okay, so here what we need to do is we need to parse it as an int at the top. And again here. So what that does is whatever the text that they input in string, it's going to convert it to number at the beginning. Okay. 2. User height in inches, user height in meter. 62, this is wrong. Let's see. I did this. There you go. Conversion to meter. Let me double check. 2 divided by 39.37. Yeah, it should show 1.52. Let me see where I'm off here. 39. Here's 2 inches. User height in inches. User height. Five times 12. Oh. I am such a tart. I had the wrong variable there. I'm like, why is it showing 39? Okay, it should work now. My mind is still at home due to winter break. All right. So what we did was we create a variable, store the input, we parse it. Remember, this time you have to, because if I didn't use the int, you saw that it showed traceback, right? It's like, oh, you enter text. I don't know what that means. You got to convert it to number. So we have to put the int here or the type here. So convert it to integers, right? Height in foot and inch. And then we would convert that into inches. So we have to tell it the unit conversion here. We add the height in inches, right? Because I'm 5'2", so 60 plus 2 give me 62. Then we did the mathematical operation where we take this divided by meter to inches, where we would have display the new values. So I am 1.57 meter tall. You might be taller. Question? Understand that. Oh, yes. Before the double. We okay? So this one's a little bit more complex, right? There is a better way to do this, right? But I want to break it into variables so it's easier for you to see how parsing works. So remember, anytime the user input, it is text, it needs to be converted. Okay. A little harder. Good job though, right? When I do workshop with high school, usually we spend a week on this. So you did pretty good for beginners, most of you. I know some of you already took a lot of programming classes, but this is review. Okay. Now we can also clean this up by using format, like you can cut off and round off these things. Python has that capability too. Okay, so screenshot, press print screen, and then go back to your document that you had earlier for the other exercises. Paste that in there with it. So that way you can submit it all together. Okay. Next. For exercise 6, we are going to use arithmetic operator a little more, right? So in this example, I have the first number called num1 for the variable, num2 for a second variable. Just like the last one, I had the user input the first number and the second number, and then I want to output the total. So you can simply add them up together like this, or you can use a sum function to be able to combine them and add them together. Okay, so it explains to you, because when the user input, it is text, we need to convert it into a value, like a number, by using it. Okay, just like what we had before. So that's when you typed it. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to ask the user to enter 4 numbers, and we are going to add them up. Just like how people sum up your shopping cart. Okay, so this is an easy one. We're going to have a new program, and I'm just going to comment lab 1 EX. What's it? 5 now? 6? 6. Okay, so we're going to do num1 is, right? We're going to do an int input quotation, enter the first number. Make sure we enclose 2 parentheses. You open 2, you gotta close 2. The second number, num2, same thing. Input, enter the second number. Repeat for the third. Num3, you can name it whatever you like. Input, enter the third number. And then num4, the assignment called for 4 number, we would do the same thing. Now, there are several ways that you can do this. In a more complex program, I advise my student to use a variable to store the sum. I'm going to show you how to do that. Or you can just simply print out the sum. So one way is we can have the total is a variable, and we would say num1 plus num2 plus num3, just like how you do adding in math, plus num4, like this. And we would do a print total. Another way that you can do this is still using the same variable. We can do a sum function, and we would simply let me see if it will handle that first. Right. Or, so I'm going to comment this, right? So you can see how using So can I just print this out? Sure, I sure can do that, right? So another way that you can do is, I'm just gonna do another print here so you can see. So it doesn't matter, right, how you want to do this, you still can achieve the same thing. Okay. The downside in not using a variable to store your sum is if you need to reference it later, you have to type out all of those things again. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Where does it say the most requirement? Oh, 4 is given. Yeah, I didn't like all this. I'm not using a list. Actually, let me do something else. Sorry. Let's see. Okay, let me try again. Okay. So what happened is when you're using sum function, it's only going to take 2 arguments. So if you have a bunch of numbers, you cannot sum them all by using the sum function. So what you can do is you can create a different container. Earlier, you see here that we have a variable. A variable store one thing, okay? A list store multiple things. So if you have 100 numbers, we can put all of those input from the variable and put it into a list, okay? So what I can do is I can also start out with a list and have them input and then use a loop to put that through, but it is a little early for that now. So what I can do is I can take whatever the user input and put it in a large container, okay? So like we said before, if I have one shirt, I put it into a variable. If I have many shirts, I put it into a list, which is like a luggage that has many things, okay? So either way, what you would get is my total is 10 because I've input 1, 2, 3, 4. We add that up, that's equal to 10. Okay, so you can do it this way. This way allows us to add the first number, the second number, the third number, the fourth number. It is a long-winded way, okay, to do things. What if you have 5,000 numbers? You're going to have to type out 5,000 variable. Who wants to do that? We will then automate it with a list and a loop. Okay. So when I add up all of those numbers, I want to put it into a location where I can reference it later. So I would have a total as a variable and I would put in the sum. Another way, as I said earlier, we can have a different container and we would bring the input and put it into a list. And then using that list, I can use a sum function and it automatically adds that up. So Python understands that when you do a sum, it just total everything up for you. So either way, you do have some typing, but whatever is easier for you, you can choose. This use simple operator, this use the sum method, and this you can also print directly with the operator. And it's still going to output the value here. So 3 ways to do it. Understand? Any questions? You can choose one. You don't have to do all 3 methods. I want to show you how to do it. And there are other ways to use it. Need help? So you can choose whichever one. And you want to add up all those numbers and print? Sure, that's fine. You want to declare a variable and add them up and print? That's fine too. it's still gonna give you the same output. Now, if I have different output on the last step, then I must have had some kind of error in my code. Okay, a logic error or something. So you saw how syntax error works is, the typo. A logic error is sometimes you can have the wrong logic. What if I multiply instead of add? I'm not gonna get the third result the same as the other two. Then, or sometime I would have some kind of systematic error, like I would divide by 0 or something that is illegal in operation. And it would give you a trace back as well. So look at your error and what it tells you, what's wrong with your error, what's wrong with your code, and then you'll be able to troubleshoot it. Okay. In the IDE, you can also have it step through where you can run it through. But as you can see, when it gets to a certain line that's wrong, it's going to stop there. Okay. So whichever method that you choose here, this one or this one or this one, that's fine with me, but I show you 3. Okay, print screen and paste it into your document. Okay, so 7 is a little bit more complex now, right? So this is like a real case. If you purchase Amazon Cloud or Google Cloud for your storage, or even Apple, my battery's running low. So the given case is that you have a cloud storage company that charges the clients $100 per month to store data. Okay. Each additional gigabyte, just like how you pay for your data on your phone, is going to be an extra $5 per gigabyte. So what we want to do is we want to make a variable where we would ask the user to input how much data they want to store, and we want to compute it. So think of it like a program to give them an estimate of how much they want to pay for the cloud data. We'll take a little break. No. This class is gonna run a little long, but I want to help you as much as possible for your assignments. Okay, I have one written already. Okay, so this is exercise 7. I have a variable called customer storage. Okay, and you can name it anything you want. Customer cloud. And I want to parse it into integer. Remember that the user input as text. So we want to ask them to enter the amount of storage that they want. How many gigabytes, right? What if I only need 50 gigabytes? So for the trip in Costa Rica, I actually looked at T-Mobile plan. If you have their new plan, sometimes it's included with travel. So I ended up having to pay a little more for 15 gigs of data. So, you see this all the time. So in this program, I make a variable, and this variable, I'm going to move it down so you can see. It's going to allow the user to input the amount of storage that they need. Okay. And given in the case that it tells me that it doesn't matter what it is, the customer is going to have to pay $100 per month. Okay. For any additional data that they need, right? We are going to take, so for the month, $100, they get 750 gigabytes. Anything beyond that, we're gonna charge them $5 extra per gigabyte. So the additional storage, we have to take whatever they input and subtract 750. Okay, so if they need 1,000 gigabytes, we take 1,000, subtract 750, right, which gives us 250. And take that 250, multiply it by 5, That's gonna be the additional cost to the $100. So in this case, the fee for the 100 is only for 750 gigabyte. Anything else beyond that, it's gonna be $5 extra per gigabyte. So with that, we're gonna have to total it up, right? The additional fee plus the monthly cost, which is $100. And that's gonna give them the total cost. And this is not including tax and other things. Sometimes they don't tax for cloud service because it is not specific to a certain location physically, like a state or a city. So I know if the company is based in California, they're required to tax. But if they are posted elsewhere, then they're not required to tax. So as you can see, to solve this problem is that we need to compute how much they need, right? With the $100 and additional fees, which is $5 per gigabyte. Are you seeing this okay? Let me see if I can. Increase the font. How are we doing? Any questions? So for computer science students, when they interview for jobs, right, they're given sometimes 8 minutes to solve a problem, coding wise. So a lot of the times they're given like a math problem to solve and they have to program. And the companies want to see how fast you can solve a problem when it comes to a problem. Sometimes you have emergency and you have to fix. So sometimes they give you 30 minutes, sometimes it's longer. For Amazon, I think they give you like between 18 to 20 something questions, and they give you a certain amount of hours, you have to solve it, right? Or if you go with other tech companies. So you would see something like this, right? They would say, oh, write a program that computes this, and you have to solve it. But I want to show you how you can derive your solution, okay? We have the monthly costs, which is given to us. We would take what input, subtract the base storage. Any addition, we multiply it by $5 per gigabyte. We add the addition with the cost of the monthly, and we have the total cost. When we run this program, so let's say I need 900 gigabyte, right? My monthly cost and additional cost is gonna be $850. Yeah. Print screen and in case it only works. You can also do alt print screen for active window and Windows system. All right, any questions? Some stuff I pre-wrote just to save time, so. All right. So we'll do one more, okay? And then we'll take a little break because I know that you guys probably want to get up and move around. Okay, so now we're gonna do something a little bit more advanced than the last one. Let's say that you want to install floor in your home, like Victoria. She has 3 rooms. Okay, the living room is 18 by 20. The master bedroom is 15 by 12, and the kitchen is 14 by by 12. I don't know if you ever go to like those websites where it estimates how much cost that you want, and you pick the flooring or paint or whatever, and it computes it for you. So basically, we're gonna calculate the square footage of each room, and we want to compute how much she's gonna spend on her home for flooring. And it costs $4.57 per square foot. So basically, we have to find the area of the living room, the area of the master bedroom, the area of the kitchen, add them up together. We have the total square footage, multiply it by 4.57, which gives us the total cost, right? And I'm assuming that is including installation fees and materials, right? With the inflation now, it's probably a lot more than this, but you get the idea. Okay. Let me see if I think I have this one also pre-written. Number 8. Sorry, wrong one. Well, maybe not. So I'll write it with you. Okay. So L1EX8. First, we're gonna have the living room. And we want to compute everything. I don't like, so to solve the problem, we want to compute. So the length is 18 and the width is 20. Okay, so we want to do length is 18, living room width is 20. And we want to put in all the other stuff too. So for the next one, your master is 15 by 12. So master length is 15 and master width is 12. Okay. Then next, we have a third room, which is going to be your kitchen. Kitchen is 14 by 12. So kitchen length is 14. Kitchen width is 12. Now, what we want is we want to find the area for the living room, the master, and the kitchen. And then we do a total, right? So we want to say area, living room. That's going to be living room length. I have a typo here. Sorry, guys. Time, which is the asterisk, living room. Right? Then next, we're going to do an area of master. Is going to be what dyslexic today. Master length time master width. Area for kitchen equals kitchen length times kitchen width. Okay, now we have the square footage for each of the room, right? We want to add them up together. So we would have total square foot we would do area living room plus area master plus area kitchen then we know that the cost for our floor is the unit cost is $4.75. Let me double check that. I think that's what it was. Yeah, 57 cents, $4.57. So floor cost is $4.57 per square foot, right? We know that. So now we would have total cost is equal to floor cost times total square foot. We want to print that. And if you want, you can print out like the square footage for the living room, the master, and the kitchen and all of that. Okay. Or we can just print out the total of the cost. Run it and see. So it will cost Victoria $3,235. Right, realistically, this price is probably low. Now you notice that there's a trailing zero like this. We can have it formatted to only cut this off, but you would see that it would be like that. Okay. Pretty easy. So what we did on this, let me zoom in real quick because it cuts off. The top. We declare each variable for length and width for each room. Then we find the area for each room. We add up all the area to get the total square footage. Then we take that, we multiply it by per square foot cost, which gives us the total cost for the floor, which is $3,235.56. It's not including tax and fees. Pretty easy. So now when you use those estimate program, you kind of see, oh, I input this and I input that, and it just simply operate with everything. Okay, so you always want, if they're giving you value, you always want to put that into a variable, right? So when you do your project, your data needs to go into a routine, whether it's a list where it's a lot of data or a single piece of data, which is a variable. In this case, we have to distinguish each of the room. Can we make a list? We can't, right? But I want to use the variable because they are specific to length and width. And then I can see the room. So when you solve a problem, if you're given data, you want to take that data and put it into the computer by giving it a variable or a computer. Then you're going to do something with it. So you have to say, oh, well, I need to compute the area. And once I find that value, the result, it needs to go somewhere. Because what happens is, if you have that program and you need to use that value later, if you don't store it, it's going to be done. Right? So we want to reference it by using a storage location. So what that is an address on your memory. And by giving it a name, a way for them to find it. Or a way for us to find it. Okay, questions? All right, want to take a little break? Get something to eat, go to the bathroom for a few minutes. And then we'll come back, do a little more. I'll try to do a few more and then I'll let you go. Take a minute. Let me pause. If you need the restroom, go out here. It's on the right. It's one of those modular right here on the right side. There's like women and men's restroom over here. So just go straight. Okay, so I'm sorry. Because what it is has to be given between text and a variable. And so a variable is going to be a visual like number. And so so that means that when you want to separate the text with a name, so when you have multiple things, what we call this is a parameter, right? So a parameter can have two, three, many, and to the one way or another. When you separate different things, you put a comma. Yeah, so the Python resemble a lot of the things that we find. So you just like follow that pattern. Because what happens is it doesn't understand, it knows that this is a string, but this is not part of it, so it's notifying you. I don't know what this is. Right, so I'm gonna tell you, we want to. So whenever you have a trace back like that, it will come like one line. Sometimes it will be multiple things, but the interpreter is stopped there and won't be able to complete the rest of the program. By okay, I'll be right back. Let me go get you guys some USB drives for your stuff. My office is right across. So you can save your work. These computer reboots and they wild. So I already have like videos posted for some of them. Okay. And I push a lot of stuff via YouTube. So if you want to watch the video later, you can. One and pass it forward. Wherever, that's yours to keep, okay? Let me. One and pass it forward. I do have some of these left. If you guys need one or two to put it on your, I don't have, because they don't always come with the. Okay, so the files that you had written, you can put it on your USB and take it with you. Right, just grab it from your desktop, your screenshots file, your whole file. I'm passing around USB, so if you want, you can grab one. And put some extra in the front. So they're yours to keep, put your files on it. Some up here too. Okay. We okay? There's some right up there. Yeah, I think there's some that's being passed around too. If you want the people. Okay, let me double check. So they're only 16. There's only 16 for lab 1, which is today and tomorrow. Okay, and then for lab 2, which is gonna be the Thursday. Okay, so we can, I can do 1 or 2 more, and then I'll let you go, because I know some of you drive far to get here. I'll be here until 8 o'clock if you need help, and if you came in and you didn't do something and you need to catch up, I will stay to help you, if you need, because I'm paid to do that. I don't, yeah, because I don't want them to say, oh, you let your suits go early so you can go home early. I'll be here to help you if you have questions. But I understand that, you know, if you need to leave, then you can leave. Okay, you're adults. No one can stop you. So, okay, let's do maybe 1 or 2 more, and then we'll take off. Okay. So how do you like it so far? It's not bad, right? Coding is not bad. It's just understanding. But practice is gonna help you tremendously, okay? So I encourage you to go home and redo some of this, like not looking at your code like what you did before with me, but look at the problem and then type it out again. So that way you know, it's like riding a bike. If you keep doing it again, you're gonna get better and you're gonna be more stable. Okay. All right. So we did 8. And congratulations, you this is what a lot of my coding class start out with, a simple problem like this. Okay, let me resume. All right. And then now what we're gonna do is we are gonna format it. You saw how long the data can be, right? Cleaning up data is really important, especially when it is a lot of data. Imagine that if you have to look at this whenever you shop, it's like you're gonna think that, oh, you know, this company like Amazon, if they don't clean up their data, they give you a bunch of decimal, it's just gonna look sloppy. So what we want to do is we want to learn how to format it. Okay. So a way that we can format string or text is to use a format function. The beautiful thing about Python is it comes equipped with a lot of things already. So like sum, format, input, so you don't have to do it from scratch, a function that's already pre-written. So the way that we can use this is we can force it to look cleaner, better, have less, print out less values than necessary, whatever that's necessary instead of extra stuff. And I always tell my student a good application should clean up all the garbage, because garbage in is going to be garbage out. You have to clean up all the garbage. A lot of times data you're going to see is going to be very unclean. Okay. When you use data in the real world, like things are not gonna, there's blanks, there's a bunch of things that you need to fix. So if you can write a program that will be able to truncate it, shrink it down to a certain numbered format that you want, or only to show a certain text, like if we want to round it off, okay? So we can use a format parameter like this. All right. So the task is, this is a more harder one, and this is more realistic. Let's say that fast shipping is like UPS or FedEx, and they charge $2.66 to send packages, okay? And Jack owns an electronics store, okay? And he wants to ship these things to his customer: a tablet that weighs 1 pound, a laptop that weighs 7 pounds, and a TV that weighs 37 pounds. Okay, we have to calculate how much Jack is going to spend on shipping all of these things. Just like when you go to the post office or the UPS store, right? They weight your stuff, and their computer system is going to give you the amount that you have to pay. You give it to them, they give you the receipt. Okay, so here I put down the step. You need to declare your variable, put down the weights value for declaration for the assignment. We're going to declare another variable for shipping rate. And we are going to use, just like before when we did the dimension for the room, we're going to use the multiplication operator, which is the asterisk. And we are going to determine the shipping cost for Jack, and we're going to print. But in this one, we're going to clean it up a little bit. We're going to make it look more like dollars and cents. Okay, like a realistic application. So you can go home, you can show people that you know, hey, I can write this. Okay, all right. I think I wrote this one already. Okay. All right, so this is lab 9 or lab 1 exercise 9. So I have a variable called ship rate. This is going to be the cost that the fast shipping charges, $2.66 per pound. Then I have another variable called tablet weight. This is how much the tablet weight, which is 1 pound. And when you're given data, as what you heard before, we want to put it into a location where we can use it. So the tablet weight is 1 pound. Your laptop weight is 7 pounds. And your TV weight is 37 pounds. Now, notice that in this one, I'm gonna first compute my shipping for the tablet. So I have another variable called ship tablet, and I would take the weight times the ship rate. And when I print this, I want for it to make sense to the customer. I don't want to just show the number. I want to, on the receipt, I want to show the shipping for the tablet is, right? And notice that I'm cleaning it up to 2 decimal points. So the way that you can do this is using the curly brace, the colon dot 2F. That means that I'm using 2 floating, the precision for 2, for the floating is going to be 2, and we're going to format it. So we're going to take the value that we computed and we're going to format it when we print out. So it's going to look like dollars and cents. It's not going to have a bunch of trailing numbers behind. So that's how you can control your precision in a floating value by using a dot format, right? With the 2F like that. And it has to be typed like that. The curly brace colon dot 2F, and then close your curly brace. Now, in this one, you notice I'm using a single quotation mark. You can use single or double. It's the same in Python. Let me zoom in a little. So maybe it's easier for you to see. So I would do the same thing for my laptop. For the shipping, I take the weight times the ship rate. And when I print, so the format is only used to display to the customer, right? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the value, we're gonna cut it to only 2 decimal points. So it looks like the cents that they're gonna pay. Okay, because the more numbers you show them, the more confused they're gonna be. So we want a clean value when we show. And after that, I'm gonna do the shipping cost for the TV, which is my ship TV. And I would do the weight times the ship cost. And I think I have this one recorded on video, also linked to your lab assignment page as well. So you can take a look if later on, if you want to go back and look. And after I have all the shipping costs for all the 3 electronics, I would add them up together. And again, I want to clean up my decimal points with the format. So in this one, you're using the format function, and you can control numerical value this way. How is this useful? This is useful not just for retail purposes. It's useful, let's say that when you're doing research. It's useful when you're working with real data where it has a lot of decimal points. Any questions? Now, realistically, we want to print out individual items like what I said before and the total, right? That makes more sense on the receipts because as a customer, you want to see specific things that you pay for. And in case of dispute, they can go back and they can look at the item and it's easier for us to fix from the standpoint of the company. So in a business, when you writing your application like this, you have to think about how the customer wants to see, right? Wants to see what they purchase. And this would be the same if you're looking at like supermarket retail, you know, things like Instacart, stuff like that, or even Amazon. And if you want to put the dollar sign, you simply just add it into your text, your string, right? Whatever you want to show in text, put it in. And the format, we want to use the format as part of the print. Okay, without the separator this time. You see that? So format, you can enclose it in the format without using the comma. So that's different. So if you throw a comma in there, it's not gonna like it. So Jack will have to pay $119.70 to ship those 3 items to his customer. So when you're looking at an estimate ship program, when you look online, right, they tell you to put in the zip code and they give you the estimate. That's basically, they put in a condition, right? If it's this zip code, this is the cost for the ship, and then compute it with the weight, and that's how you get your estimate for shipping. So in this one, we learn how to use format in the print function. We also use arithmetic operator to compute the ship cost. Okay. And the only thing missing for this program is the button that they click and so on, right? A little bit more feature. You have a simple program. Any questions? Yes. You need to have the colon dot to end. It doesn't understand the dot to end because that's how Python is written to understand this colon dot to end. Are we okay? Any help? Okay, so it's because we have a comma instead of a period. It's colon dot to end, it's period. Fix all of those and it should be fine. It still shows it, but yeah, you just need the period, the comma before the two end. Okay. Make sure we grab our program and put it on our USB. And don't forget your USB here. There's nobody else using this classroom. Normally, you'll probably be here when you come back for the winter. But usually, so make sure that we catch when we're done. Any questions? Okay. So pretty good. I'm really proud of you for day 1. It seems scary, right? But once you try it, and so in the future, more practice. Got it? Come out okay? Okay, save your file. Sorry, I put it back. Let me end Zoom.